Okay, moving on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Kakishiba. A couple of things to celebrate before I have some other comments. So I just want to really highlight an extraordinary amount of effort and work in high schools in particular, that now with the graduation rate data that's just come out, our high school graduation rate in Oakland is now at 62.6%, which is considerably up from 4 years ago. And studying the cohort move, the highlights, and in particular, we've seen an increase in graduation rate of 4% for our African American males, which is now, the amount of distance we have to go is extraordinary, but the thing to celebrate is that now, in fact, more than half of our African American males are graduating, when before that was a much lower number. And we've made significant improvement in the areas of engagement, in particular English language learners and students with disabilities. We are now up to 45% of our English language learners graduating, which is almost a 5% increase over the 2011 numbers. So this is not to celebrate or say we've made it. This is to say we've actually made significant progress and outpaced the targets named by the board for our changes in graduation cohort rate. I think that the other thing I want to highlight is that the work of All City Council a number of years ago and the young people's engagement and community engagement and the push on our system to say that every single child deserves A to G. And while many people continue to come up and say what our kids aren't getting, I want to really commend the board and young people, because at current, our numbers in the state, we are currently at 42% for our high school graduates are completing A to G in OUSD. So I would say, and then obviously that's completing the college, the CSU and UC eligible courses with a C or better. Now, the issue is that with a graduation rate of 60%, you know, of that number, 48%, 42% of our kids are completing A to G. So we got to get, the state average is up about 78% for high school graduation. So we've got a significant way to go, but that's across the state. But that said, of our young people that are graduating, we are doing a much better job than a lot of folks on the A to G. And, you know, I want to highlight one school in particular. Coliseum College Prep has its first graduating class, and now its graduation cohort is just being analyzed, and 64% of the students graduated. But I would say to you, 85% of those kids who finished were completed A to G with a C or better. Yes. So we are moving, so David Montez de Oca just wanted me to highlight that the high school in the top that had a summary rating of a 4.0 is actually CCPA. So that's, you're seeing, I mean, it's extraordinary. And the kind of effort and engagement, the design, the work that Aaron Townsend and others and community did, and now being led by Amy Carrozza. So there are a couple other things I want to share with you that are pretty extraordinary. The Skyline graduation rate is at 82%. So this is a cohort graduation rate, state. And now the thing is, people can say, you know, you did that. It's now unique student identifiers. So the state unique student identifiers. This is not about Oakland saying this. This is about the state, after scrubbing the data, going deep. That's why it takes this long. So it's the 2012 graduates, and they've been analyzing where are those young people now, what happened. So this is not Oakland's making the statement. This is now the state making the statement. So that is an increase, and now Met West, 84.6% cohort graduation rate, up from 77% in 2011. The number of young people they're holding on, encouraging, engaging. Oakland Tech is at 83.4%, up from 75%. Now, the thing that's also important in this, and I am not interested necessarily in the competition, and you know, people compare Oakland Tech and Berkeley High School and talk about that, and I would just offer to you that the African American cohort graduation rate at Oakland Tech is now at 80%.
Wow.
the African American cohort graduation rate at Oakland Tech is 80%. Yeah, I mean, exactly. And the thing about the A to G completion rate for African American males at Oakland Tech is that they're completing A to G at 45%. So again, there's tremendous work to do, and every single young person needs to be college, career, and community ready. We were not there, but I can tell you that at Berkeley High, for their graduates, 15% of their African American male students are passing A to G. So there is significant difference in the focus, and the work that we have put in place here is paying dividends. I think, you know, you can't underestimate how hard it is. You have to be intentional, put these structures in place, but the literacy has been extraordinarily important. I'm going to share a couple of pieces of data that are a little hard to hold on to, so I might go a little slower. So for 2012, so this is now for kids who finished last year. So the cohort graduation rate is for the ending in 2012. But there are some kids who weren't counted in that. So we've had 3 kids who finished their GED, and the way the cohort graduation is counted, they're not included. But I want to talk about something else that is a little different. There are 238 students who are in that group who have graduated, who have finished after. So 238 young people who are both continuing and finishing fifth year, additional years. They're mostly still enrolled students that we're still working with. So for the class of 2012, we have 273 students who are still enrolled total with us. So we're holding on to kids, and what we've said, and you may or may not recall, we had this conversation about 3 years ago, that just because a young person is 18 and there was a practice here of saying those kids, we're done with you, you need to go on to other things, we actually aggressively changed that practice and said, our commitment is to you as long as you want to stay with us. So the compulsory part ends at 18, not the service part. So we now are holding on to 273 more children who would have finished and are in process of finishing. So the holding power, the holding on to kids, is actually significant as well. So the dropout rate, which is again not us telling people this, we have our push-out rate, our dropout rate, has been declining very fast. We've been holding on to kids and saying, and in particular, in the 9th and 10th grade is where I think we made the biggest difference. And this is really about the literacy intervention. So our district dropout or push-out rate is now at 24.7%. And you know how much that's come down, but it's come down, that's just 2% reduction from even last year. And we expect to see a significant change even now for the 2013 cohort, because you'll see a full 4 years of implementation of our efforts. You know, I can't say enough about the kind of leadership at the high schools, the coaching and support, the literacy intervention, the small learning communities, the kind of restructuring and the choices that staff have made, particularly at some of the big schools, the choices they made at Skyline and Oakland Tech to reorganize, and then the aggressive implementation of structures and support at Fremont, Castlemont, and McClymonds, seeing what we need to do for those young people and the additional years with the number of, for example, in McClymonds, number of young people coming out of incarceration that we've both held on to, supported, and done additional support, so they may not be in the cohort graduation rate, but they're still with us. So we are, as you know, among the most violent cities in the country, and we have figured out that our kids need us in some very different ways, and we're holding on to kids and getting them to graduate. Granted, 60% graduation rate isn't near what it needs to be, but it's significantly improved from just even a year ago. So wanted to celebrate and appreciate the leadership and work in the schools and the community and our young people for demanding A to G, and the board for stepping up to that, and now the counseling, the services, the transcript review that Maria Santos, who's not here tonight, the work of transcript review and ensuring that each child is getting A to G has made a massive difference in this data. So, you know, it's an incredible opportunity to celebrate. That data just went live, and so we're excited. We'll be public and we'll put it on the website.
My question was, are you going to publish I would suggest a press release. I mean, this
So
is so
we'll do the whole
overdone.
thing, but it's been embargoed, and we just wanted to make sure that we respected the embargo, but we got allowed to do it, and they've been doing reports, so we'll do a big thing on it. Also wanted to communicate, so yesterday, the release of the Next Generation Science Standards. So that may sound like, oh, interesting, what's that big deal? It's huge, actually. And the thing that I wanted to name is that this district has been one of the reviewers of the Next Generation Science Standards for the national work. So we've had teams reviewing that data. And in fact, so just would offer now, we have teams of teachers who reviewed the first 2 drafts. Caleb Chung, who folks here know, but Caleb has become not only a leader in the state, but a leader nationally. So we have a system for supplying elementary science materials to all 932 classrooms now. We have basically a cohort of 13 elementary schools that were going deep on the science literacy work, already using the Next Generation Science Standards in different iterations. So we have folks who, I think sometimes it gets lost. Oakland has among the largest science infrastructure of any district in the state of California. And the move that you made to go to 60 minutes for elementary science in K2 and then 3-5 to 90 minutes a week, we actually support the most science minutes of almost any district in the state of California. So the move that the board made around STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, is paying off. It's obviously in the strategic plan, it's in the facilities, West Oakland. So the corridor and seeing the performance from the SEEK program, the Summer Engineering Experience for Kids at Martin Luther King, the pipeline, the work with Chevron. So we are actually building a STEM pipeline in Oakland that's bearing results. And it's tied directly to the work and already embedding the Next Generation Science Standards, not waiting for them to come and then starting. We've been engaged in this for a couple of years already. So I just want to really give deep appreciation to our science leadership team, teams of teachers who've been working on this, but also to highlight for you and the community that often people are just like talking about the challenges. We have things to celebrate about some of the deepest, most exciting content in the country, and our folks have been giving feedback on that. So it just went national, it's live, it's happening, but it's already been happening here. So I just really want to take a couple of those opportunities. And our ongoing work on the Common Core is really to be celebrated. In fact, for the next 2 days, the California Collaborative on District Reform and Support will be spending 2 days here in Oakland. Really, we're part of a network building on the capacity, and they'll be giving basically critical friendship and feedback on our school quality review process. So we're inviting that kind of feedback and getting coaching on that. So, and it's in that context that I would just extend extraordinary appreciation to the board for the support since last Thursday. Each of you in really significant ways have been there for me, and President Kakashiba for being with me, with staff last Friday. So making this decision is extraordinarily hard. We worked really hard together, and I deeply respect and appreciate the leadership of this team to say this is the work and the work that Oakland needs to do. Community is turning in and really connecting, and I look forward to being an ally. I mean, obviously, I think very few people can imagine the kind of the struggle that this is, but I am committed to being an ally, being part of this work, and whatever support I can give, I'm committed to doing it, and I appreciate your leadership. And it's been such an extraordinary time. We have eliminated a structural deficit. We've put more money per kid. We made some of the hardest decisions possible, but 5% more per student as a result of those hard decisions that are actually yielding these kinds of benefits. So thank you for hard, good, long-term partnership, and we will finish strong, but it is really very hard to say goodbye. But thank you very much.
Thank you.